Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty universal, I think. That dream. You know, the one standing naked in public.
Ah, yes, it's one of the classics, isn't it? It shows up everywhere.
Right. And it feels like more than just like an awkward social moment gone wrong in your sleep. It
Yeah.
feels deeper.
It absolutely is. We have some really insightful ways of looking at this, treating it less like a random bit of brain static and more like a deliberate message.
So you're saying it's not just about embarrassment.
Not fundamentally, no. That's what we call the manifest content. That's the surface story. The missing clothes, the feeling of being in the wrong place, maybe shivering a bit. It's what you remember, often with that hot flush of embarrassment.
Okay, the embarrassing part. Got it.
But that's just the stage dressing, really. Our goal here is to look behind the curtain, to get at the latent content. That's the hidden script.
The real meaning.
Exactly. The deeper psychological truths about, well, vulnerability, about desire, about the parts of ourselves we keep locked away, what Freud would call repression, the naked body in the dream. It's a powerful symbol for all of that.
So if the manifest dream is maybe, I don't know, showing up to work without your pants,
Right.
the latent content is more about the fear of what being seen for who you really are without the usual filters,
Yeah.
exposing your actual needs maybe.
Precisely. You've hit it. And we have to remember, dreams speak a different language. It's not logic. It's metaphor. It's sensation, symbol, highly personal.
So it's like poetry, not prose.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
So to really get this, we need to slow down, let ourselves feel the textures of the dream, the emotions, that panic you feel. It's not the point, it's the pointer. It's guiding us somewhere.
Okay. Let's follow the pointer then. Take the slow road into what usually feels like a very fast panic. So let's start at the beginning of the dream state itself. Our sources describe it vividly. It often doesn't start with chaos. It's quiet. You're just walking.
Not running, not hiding yet.
Right. In a city that feels, I think the phrase was still asleep, everything's calm. The air just is. You just are.
And that initial quietness is key, psychologically speaking. It suggests your usual defenses are down, your ego, the part of you that's always managing your image, always on guard, it's momentarily relaxed, asleep, like the city.
Ah, okay. So you're moving through the world sort of
All right.
undefended.
For a moment, yes. Maybe with a kind of innocence or lack of self-consciousness that your waking self rarely allows. And it's in that quiet space that the unconscious can start to, well, set the stage for what's coming.
And then the awareness hits. But it's described as physical first, right? Not a thought, but a feeling.
Yes, exactly. It often comes through the skin. Sudden draft, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Whisper air where there should be fabric. Your body knows something's wrong before your mind catches up.
Wow. So the body reacts before the conscious thought, oh no, I'm naked.
It demonstrates how incredibly primal shame is. It's not just an idea, it's a visceral sensation. Your skin is that boundary, isn't it? Between your inner world and the outer world. That unexpected touch of air signifies a breach.
A boundary violation.
Precisely. And it's the oldest part of you, the body, sounding the alarm. It's instinctual. It underlines that the fear isn't really about the clothes themselves, but about losing that protective layer against the world's gaze.
And once that realization lands, the feeling is described as just excruciating, not gentle or artistic nakedness.
No, it's raw. It claws at your throat, makes your ribs feel like they're tightening into a cage. That's the language used.
And you instinctively try to cover up, right? Fold your arms, look for somewhere to hide.
Of course, that's the rational response. But in the dream, your limbs often feel heavy, disobedient, like they're stuck in mud.
Why does that happen? Why can't you just hide?
It's psychological paralysis. It's the ego, completely overwhelmed by this raw vulnerability, this shame. It knows what it should do, run, hide, cover. But the dream's logic, the unconscious purpose, prevents it.
So the dream traps you.
It forces you to stay present with the fear. No escape. You're stuck, center stage, under the lights, unable to move. You have to endure that feeling, that unbearable weight of being seen.
And to make it even worse, time slows down. It's not a quick flash of horror. It's described as a slow drip of honey.
Thick, golden, suffocating.
Yes.
That dilation of time is the unconscious making sure you get the message. It maximizes the emotional impact.
So you can't just brush it off later.
Exactly. Shame is sticky, isn't it? It lingers. It wants to fill every second. If the dream was over in a flash, your waking mind could dismiss, oh, just a quick anxiety blip. But by stretching it out, making it thick and slow like honey,
It burns the feeling into you.
it inscribes the panic, the vulnerability deep into your psyche. You're forced to suffer the sensation, so the underlying truth, the latent content we talked about, can't be easily ignored when you wake up.
Okay, so you're paralyzed, time is crawling,
Yeah.
and then sometimes there's that moment where you see yourself, maybe a reflection in a shop window.
That flickering glimpse.
And it's described as seeing your body, not idealized, not airbrushed, just yours. And the terror isn't necessarily hating it, but just seeing it. Raw, unedited.
And that moment is absolutely critical. It's a pivot point. Think about how much energy we spend in waking life, editing ourselves, our posture, our words, our clothes, our online profiles. It's constant curation.
Right, putting on the costume.
Exactly. That reflection in the dream, that's the raw data. It's your physical self, stripped bare of the costume you wear for the world. And the shock isn't just the nakedness, it's the unvarnished reality of yourself.
Seeing yourself without the usual story you tell yourself about yourself?
Precisely. It's terrifying because it demands you accept reality over the perhaps more comfortable fantasy of who you try to be. It's that moment of confronting the flaws, the history written on your skin, the simple fact of your physical being, and acknowledging it's you without flinching away.
It sounds like the dream is basically shouting, stop running from the fact that you exist.
You've got it. And that moment of seeing the unedited self, that takes us right into the heart of the latent content. We have to shift gears now away from the literal body.
Towards what it symbolizes.
Yes. From a Freudian angle, the body is always, in a sense, a stand-in. It's a symbol. It's like a costume worn by something deeper, quieter, older within you.
Okay, so the nakedness is just the signifier.
It's the vehicle. The message isn't about flesh and bone.
So what's the message then? What's the real fear underneath the shame of being physically exposed?
Our sources point very clearly towards want, towards need. The deepest fear isn't showing your skin. It's showing your hunger, your need. Specifically, your need to be wanted, to be seen and accepted.
So it's about exposing desire itself.
The raw, unmediated desire for connection, for affirmation, for love, for recognition that isn't tied to what you do, but who you are. In our adult world, we're taught, subtly or not so subtly, that need equals weakness.
Right. We're supposed to be self-sufficient, independent, got it all handled.
Exactly. The naked body in the dream becomes the symbol of the opposite, radical dependence. It's the part of you that craves acceptance without having to earn it. And that's the vulnerability we work so hard to cover up, much more diligently than we cover our actual skin.
The dream just rips off that layer of competence and politeness.
And reveals the engine underneath, the yearning.
Where does that intense shame about wanting something so basic actually come from? The sources link it back to childhood, right? This idea of a forgotten rule.
Yes, often to those very early experiences. Think about a toddler, maybe running around naked and happy after a bath, completely unself-confident.
Right, yeah.
And then maybe an adult voice, sharp, sudden, cover yourself up, or perhaps a look of disapproval, a quick turning away.
And the lesson learned isn't just about clothes.
No, the lesson learned is that some parts of you, particularly your spontaneous joy, your uninhibited self-expression, your simple bodily presence, they're not okay. They need to be hidden, controlled, managed.
So parts are only for hiding, only for control.
That seemingly small moment, that correction, it can become the blueprint for lifelong repression. It's not about being dirty. It's about learning that your natural, uncontained state is somehow socially unacceptable, maybe even dangerous. You start tucking away the heat of your own desires under layers of control.
And that little kernel of shame grows.
Into the towering fear of exposure you experience in the dream years later.
So the dream's nudity is basically the truth forcing its way out, slipping through the cracks of your curated self.
Beautifully said, yes. The carefully built adult persona, the one with the good job, the right opinions, the managed emotions that cracks under the pressure of its own suppression. And what spills out?
The raw, unedited version of your desire to be seen. Fully, completely, without apology.
It's authenticity demanding to be acknowledged. The unconscious is staging this intervention because that curated self, while maybe functional, isn't the whole truth. It's saying, I am still here beneath all this performance, and I need to be seen.
Okay, but here's a question that puzzles me. If the unconscious wants this truth out, why make it so painful? Why the suffering, the panic, the shame? Why not present authenticity as, freeing or joyous in the dream?
That's such an important question. Why the anxiety? Why the language barrier, as you put it?
Yeah.
Think about your ego, your conscious mind. It's built defenses for a reason. It identifies with that curated self. If the dream just presented raw, joyful authenticity, hey, look how wonderful it is to be completely vulnerable and needy, the ego would likely dismiss it instantly upon waking.
Too good to be true. Too childish.
Exactly. That's just a silly fantasy.
Yeah.
By wrapping the desire, that radical wish to be truly seen and accepted in intense anxiety and shame, the unconscious kind of smuggles it past the ego's guards.
Using the negative emotion as a Trojan horse.
In a way, yes. The intensity of the fear forces you to pay attention, to feel the weight of it, even while you're panicking. The unconscious understands the ego's resistance. It knows, as one source puts it, you are not ready to want without shame. So it gives you the shame as the vehicle to carry the truth. It's a clever, if harsh, strategy for getting the message through.
Okay, let's talk about the other people in the dream, the crowd. Because often the most chilling part isn't just being naked, it's being naked in front of others.
The audience?
But the sources highlight a really specific, terrifying detail. Often the crowd doesn't react at all. No pointing, no laughing, no gasps, just blank faces. Indifference.
That silence, that non-reaction is incredibly potent. It's described as the dream's mercy and its cruelty.
Mercy and cruelty, how so?
Well, the mercy is obvious. You're spared the overt public humiliation you dread. They aren't actually attacking you. Phew, right.
Okay, yeah. That's a relief, sort of.
But the cruelty lies in what that silence does. By withholding any external judgment, the dream throws the spotlight entirely back onto you. It removes the external enemy.
So if they aren't judging me, then the judgment must be coming from
Inside.
Yeah.
You are the source of the horror. The dream forces you to confront your own internal critic. Now, you are the audience. You are the critic.
Wow. So that silence is reflecting my own self-judgment back at me.
Every single time you've silenced yourself in waking life, every time you've shrunk back, dimmed your own light because you were afraid of what others might think,
Yeah.
the dream is showing you that you've internalized those imagined judgments so deeply, you can generate the entire panic all by yourself, even with a completely indifferent audience.
That's heavy.
It really is. It's the mechanism of internalized depression made visible.
And digging deeper, who is this crowd symbolically? The sources suggest they aren't just random strangers.
No, they often represent the chorus of your childhood.
The chorus of childhood, like the important figures from back then.
Exactly. Think about the key people who shaped your early understanding of what was acceptable. Maybe the parent who seemed uncomfortable with loud emotions, so you learned to be quiet.
Or the one who only praised achievements, not just you being you.
Precisely. Or the teacher who didn't really see you, just your performance. That crowd embodies those early, powerful figures and the rules they taught you, often unspoken, about what parts of yourself were safe to show and what parts needed to be hidden.
So they're not judging my physical body in the dream.
They're judging your need, your vulnerability, your authenticity. They represent the echoes of those past voices questioning whether you're allowed to take up space, to want things, to be fully yourself. It's a test. Do you still obey those old rules?
Which leads to this idea of rehearsed disgust. My horror isn't based on their actual reaction, because there isn't one. It's based on what I expect their reaction to be.
You've spent a lifetime rehearsing their disgust, anticipating rejection if you show your true self. You're running the script you learned long ago.
And the really scary thought, the one the dream sort of dangles there, is, what if they don't hate you?
Exactly. What if they see you and stay? What if they see all of it, the need, the vulnerability, the unedited self, and they don't turn away?
That sounds like it should be a relief, but the sources say it's actually terrifying. Why?
Because our sense of self is often built around the need to hide. We construct an identity based on managing perceived flaws, on protecting ourselves from expected rejection. If that rejection doesn't come,
The whole structure collapses.
the whole narrative falls apart. If you can be seen fully and truly and accepted, then maybe all that hiding, all that effort, all that self-suppression wasn't actually necessary. And that realization can feel like an earthquake under your feet. It's easier in a strange way to deal with the familiar pain of expected rejection than the destabilizing shock of unexpected acceptance.
It threatens the ego you've built on those defenses.
It's the potential annihilation of that guarded self. But crucially, the dream often offers a little counterpoint to this heavy internal chorus. Sometimes there's a small child.
Right, I remember that detail. A child on the sidewalk.
And how does the child react? Not with shock or disgust.
But with curiosity. Pure, unfiltered. They just see a person.
Exactly. They see person, not naked person judged by society. The child represents a state before shame, before the rules were learned. They haven't internalized the social contract of covering up, controlling the self.
So their gaze is different.
It's purely receptive. Innocent wonder, maybe, It's a tiny detail, but it's the dream offering a glimpse, a tiny window, showing that another way of seeing and being seen is possible, free from that crushing weight of the internalized chorus. A flicker of freedom.
Okay, let's pull back a bit and look at the mechanism that makes this whole dream scenario necessary in the first place. Repression,
Yeah, yes.
the foundation.
The sources describe it so vividly. It's not just forgetting something, it's active. The act of pressing down, of burying alive, of locking the wild thing in the basement. That language really captures the effort involved, doesn't it? Repression isn't passive deletion, it's constant active work. It takes psychic energy day in, day out to keep that wild thing contained.
And what is that wild thing?
It's the authentic self. It's the raw desires, the inconvenient emotions, the parts of you that don't fit neatly into the persona you present to the world. The ego sees these parts as dangerous, disruptive, maybe shameful, so it tries to lock them away.
But burying something alive means it's still down there,
Yeah.
scratching at the door.
Exactly. It doesn't go away. It pushes back. And the dream of nakedness is often the moment the unconscious pries that basement door open, even just a crack, and forces you to look at what you've been trying so hard to keep hidden.
And the core of what's hidden, that want we talked about, it's described as something really fundamental, not just like everyday desires, but almost existential.
Yes, the desire being repressed here is often profound. It goes beyond simple needs or even just genital sexuality. It's framed as the erotic charge of being fully alive.
The erotic charge of being alive. What does that mean in practical terms?
Think of it as the raw life force. The fundamental yearning for connection, for meaning, for recognition, for touch that isn't transactional, that doesn't demand you perform or achieve anything first.
So, wanting to be seen just for existing.
Wanting to be recognized in your essence, wanting moments of pure presence, maybe unstructured play or creativity without worrying about judgment. It's that deep, almost spiritual desire to feel connected, alive, and affirmed just as you are. The dream suggests this fundamental aliveness felt too big, too overwhelming, maybe too demanding early on,
And that's why it got repressed. Not because it was inherently bad or dirty.
but because it was powerful, because it asked for too much. That's the key insight.
So the lesson learned in childhood was that expressing that deep existential need is risky. Dangerous, even.
Very possibly. The child learns, perhaps through subtle cues or overt reactions, that big, open-hearted need might overwhelm caregivers or might lead to disappointment or rejection. That kind of pain can feel annihilating to a child.
So you learn to manage your needs. Ask for smaller, safer things.
Exactly. You learn to dress up your core needs in polite requests, in achievements, in things that feel more controllable and less likely to be rejected outright. You trade the vast ocean of existential wanting for small, manageable cups of approval. But the dream, it remembers the ocean.
And this whole history, this effort of containment, it gets written onto us physically. The body keeps the score.
Absolutely. The body becomes the unconscious's voice. It speaks in code, things we experience as physical symptoms, a tremor, a blush, chronic tension, maybe even a scar. They aren't random. They are encrypted.
Encrypted with what?
With memory, with wish, with repressed emotion, that tightness in your shoulders. Maybe it's the physical echo of constantly bracing yourself, that sudden flush when you feel seen. Perhaps it's not just embarrassment, but the thrill, the arousal of your authentic self momentarily breaking through.
So like a scar isn't just damaged tissue, it could be a memory.
It could hold the memory of an initiation, a boundary crossed, a pain endured. A particular curve might unconsciously hold the memory of a comforting touch. The body is a living archive. The dream forces us to confront our bodies not just as biological machines, but as vessels of our history, our hidden desires, our unresolved stories.
So at the end of the day, the dream doesn't really care about my impressive resume or my curated social media feed.
Not one bit. Those are the costumes. The dream cares about the part of you that's still vulnerable, still longing. It cares about the child who, as the source beautifully puts it, maybe wants to run naked through the sprinklers.
The one who's still trembling under the surface, just wanting to be known.
That's the self the dream is trying to reach. The essential you, beneath all the layers of performance and defense. It's a call for recognition of that core self, the one that existed before the hiding began.
Thinking about it this way really shifts the perspective on the unconscious, doesn't it? It stops feeling like an enemy trying to sabotage you with nightmares.
It becomes something else entirely. Perhaps, as one source suggests, your oldest ally.
An ally? How so?
An ally that never gave up on the idea that you deserve to be fully seen, fully real. It doesn't send this dream to punish you with shame. It sends to summon you
Summon me where?
back home, back to the truth of yourself. The anxiety and shame are often just the friction generated by your ego resisting that summons, because the ego has grown comfortable, even if unhappy, in its constructed reality.
Freud famously called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, like a grand highway.
He did. But the sources we're drawing on offer a slightly different image for this particular dream. Not a royal road, but a narrow alley, cobblestoned, mossy.
A narrow alley
Right.
that feels much more personal and maybe a bit trickier to navigate.
Exactly. It's not some wide, generic highway of universal symbols, though there are common themes. This dream forces you down your specific alleyway. It leads back through your personal history, your unique landscape of learned shame, and specific moments of hiding.
To the place where I learned the rules.
And forward, potentially to the moment where you might choose to break them. It demands a very personal, sometimes messy encounter with your own past, not just a neat intellectual understanding.
Okay, let's go back to that core paradox because it feels central. The idea that acceptance is actually more terrifying than rejection.
It's the absolute linchpin, isn't it?
Why is being accepted exactly as you are, nakedness and all, scarier than the rejection you've been expecting your whole life?
Because rejection, however painful, is familiar. It confirms the narrative. If the crowd points and laughs or turns away in disgust, a part of you, the part that built the defenses, sadly nods and says, "See, I was right. It's not safe to be me. Hiding is necessary."
It validates the whole system.
Precisely. But acceptance,
Yeah.
especially acceptance when you feel completely exposed, vulnerable, needy, that shatters the system. If they see all of that and they don't reject you,
Then the system was wrong. The hiding wasn't necessary.
and suddenly the armor you've worn your whole life isn't protective anymore. It's just heavy. The entire narrative you've built around your wounds, your defenses, your reasons for hiding it proves false. That requires a fundamental shift in your sense of self, your way of being in the world. It's like psychological ground zero,
Letting go of the identity built around the wound.
which can feel like dying, in a way, before you can be reborn into a new way of being. That's the terror of acceptance.
So the dream forces you to confront this difference. Is your nakedness a state of vulnerability, like a wound being exposed against your will? Or could it be a state of courage, an offering?
Yes, that's the potential transformation. Moving from victim, I was exposed, to agent. I choose to be present, to reveal.
Say.
Can you reclaim that nakedness not as shame, but as authenticity, as an offering of your real self?
Seeing yourself unwrapped, unmasked, unafraid.
That's the invitation, to live from presence, not defense. And the dream, importantly, doesn't usually wave a magic wand and fix everything. It's not presented as a cure.
Right. It doesn't necessarily stop happening.
No, but it leaves the repression cracked. That's the key image. It disrupts the solid wall the ego has built.
Like it's in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that crack, that lingering awareness when you wake up, that feeling that something true was touched, that something will stay awake with you. That's the real gift of the dream. It doesn't remove the prison, perhaps, but it leaves the door slightly ajar. It introduces doubt into the system of total control.
So after the dream, after the repression is cracked, what does that feel like in waking life? How does it manifest?
Often there's a subtle shift, maybe even a physical one. The sources talk about the ego relaxing its grip just a little, like a fist slowly uncurling.
And that leads to feeling.
Looser, lighter, more porous. That's the description. Porous is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, what does porous mean here?
It suggests you're less defended, more permeable, able to let the world in a bit more, perhaps, and maybe able to let more of your genuine self out. The constant energy drain of pressing down lessens slightly.
So the internal battle eases off a bit.
There's a pause in the internal war. That physical lightness can be the feeling of the weight of the secret, the weight of the performance being momentarily lifted. A sense of fragile, tentative trust starting to emerge.
And does this change how you see other people, that potentially judging crowd?
It can, significantly. If you start to grasp that the crowd in the dream was largely a projection of your own internal judge.
Then maybe the people you meet every day aren't solely focused on judging you either.
Exactly. You start seeing them less as potential critics and more as mirrors. You realize they're probably hiding too. They have their own vulnerabilities, their own wants, their own fears. They're navigating their own narrow alleys.
It shifts from paranoia to empathy.
Radical empathy, potentially. You move from feeling like the uniquely flawed one, the only one terrified of exposure, to recognizing yourself as part of a shared human condition. Everyone's wearing some kind of costume. Everyone's afraid. Everyone's beautiful underneath.
And what about internally? The sources mention the heartbeat changing.
Yes, from the frantic rhythm of panic in the dream.
Yeah. To something steadier. Rhythm. In trust. In presence.
That reflects a deeper alignment. Panic is the feeling of fighting reality, fighting your own existence. When you begin, even slightly, to accept yourself, to trust your right to simply be, your internal rhythm can settle. That feeling of being held not by literal hands, but by presence itself.
What is that?
It's the feeling of being anchored in the simple fact of your own existence, without needing external validation or armor anymore, trusting your own inner pulse, finding safety within yourself rather than seeking it solely outside.
And the dream itself, it doesn't just fade away like other dreams sometimes do.
Often, no. It lingers. It becomes, as the sources suggest, like medicine as mantra, as map.
How does it work as medicine or a map?
It folds itself into your awareness. That memory, the feeling of air on skin, the heavy limbs, the silent crowd, it subtly informs your choices. Because the dream touched a core truth about your value, maybe you start acting from that truth, even in small ways.
Like allowing yourself to cry, or saying no when you need to protect your energy.
Exactly. Or maybe offering that real smile, the one that isn't performed, because the dream showed you your unedited face and maybe, just maybe, it was acceptable. These aren't huge dramatic shifts, necessarily. They're micro decisions, guided by the dream's lingering resonance, allowing vulnerability to inform action.
Which seems to lead to the final big idea, this
Yeah.
concept of receptivity.
Yes. The truly radical act isn't necessarily loud rebellion.
It's being willing to receive.
To receive acceptance, to receive love, to allow yourself to be seen, knowing the risks, but choosing vulnerability anyway. To believe you can be loved because of your naked, authentic self, not just in spite of it.
So stop managing how people see you.
And start allowing your truth to be the guide. It's about choosing day by day to trust that being real is the only path to genuine connection. The dream, in its terrifying way, is trying to seduce you back into that wholeness. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow. Okay, so we started with this image that feels like pure social nightmare fuel being mated in public.
Embarrassment, shame, panic.
Right. But diving deep, walking down that narrow, mossy alleyway, we found something else entirely. This profound, almost primal desire to be truly seen, and maybe even more profound, the deep, unsettling terror of actually being accepted just as we are.
The dream isn't a glitch. It's not a punishment. It's an invitation back to yourself.
It's not about fixing something that's broken.
No, it's about uncovering something that's been buried. It's about unfolding, not being fixed. The dream isn't telling you you're lost. It's showing you the way home, the way to arrive fully in your own life.
So here's the thought to leave you with. The dream didn't hand you a detailed roadmap for the future. It gave you something maybe more valuable, a compass. And it's pointing inward. If being naked in the dream means being real, and if being real is maybe the only way to truly connect, truly be loved, what's the smallest, softest, most truthful thing you could reveal about yourself today? Not a grand gesture, maybe just an honest feeling, a genuine laugh instead of a polite one, a quiet no that honors your real needs.
It's just a small test. Dip a toe in the water.
Yeah, just to test the air, to see if maybe, just maybe, the world might meet that flicker of realness, not with the condemnation you expect, but with simple, open curiosity. What would that feel like?